Hello, beautiful strangers, and welcome to the very first episode of Myth, or also known as Shadow Searching Adventure Myth. This is one of my absolute favorite visual novels of all time. God, I love this visual novel. I played it earlier this year for the first time. When I finished reading this, the first thought I had was, fuck, that was awesome. Or, well, actually, it was more along the lines of, fuck, I love that. Or that was really good. And then my second thought was, I really want to play this on the channel, or read this for the channel. So here we are. Let's see. To read a quick description. A world of light, a world where no person has a shadow. In this world was a boy. Because he lived in this world, he too had no shadow. Then, one day, the boy met a girl who did have a shadow. The girl invited him to come with her to a world of shadows. And that's the synopsis. That's from VNDB. This was, as you can see in the bottom left, originally released in 2008. The first English translation of this was released in 2016. There is a version available on Steam and from Manga Gamer. This is the Manga Gamer version, which means it is the adult edition, 18 plus edition, whatever. I think the version from Steam is patchable, but I'm not going to swear to that. Yeah, this is also, if you look in the config, this is from Manga Gamer, and I think the Steam edition is the same. You can actually switch the text to Japanese and read it in Japanese. So, you know, you have both languages. So that's always a plus. The reason I'm choosing the 18 plus edition is because I kind of got conflicting info. Like this isn't a very well-known visual novel in general. Let's see how many. But I couldn't find a lot of info about what was and wasn't cut. So what I did when I played through this, I played the original, like the 18 plus edition of the game, because I do that. I always play the original version, if I can, or as close to anyway. And there were some things that I felt like would be cut if in an all ages version or a Steam version, like not even just like nudity or anything like that, but subject matter of some of the scenes. So I'm gonna not take a risk, rather, and I'm gonna play the 18 plus version because I don't want to take the chance of any of these subjects being changed. But yeah, I am very excited about this. Out of curiosity, yeah, this has 228 votes on VNDB. I will say that while I love this is one of my favorite visual novels of all time. As I said, the best visual novel I've read this year, for sure. It's kind of not for everybody. It is definitively what I would call my type of story. This is the kind of story that I love and will fall in love with easily. And no matter the quality or how it's executed, this type of story, it's the type of story I like. So I'm going to give it a higher rating for me in general than, otherwise I might. However, I think this is done very, very well, and I really, really like it. And well, I hope you're excited as well. And if you've not heard of this before, well, I am so excited to be introducing this to you. Oh man, I am very excited for this. So let's get into it, shall we? All right, this is sort of episodic. There's not a ton of episodes. Some of them are longer than others. And as a warning, this does start very slow. I don't mind that. I found it kind of annoying at first, but as I sort of went through the story, I liked it a lot more. This is also the type of story that I feel is best going into completely blind. So if you're seeing this and deciding, well, maybe I'll try to look up as much as I can about it, I would recommend not doing that. Just because it's a mystery, sort of. Not even sort of. That's not sure. That's not a spoiler. It is a mystery visual novel. I think it's because it even said in the thing, the whole looking for the shadow world thing. Yeah, this is, well, knowing too much about it ruins the fun. And let's go with episode 1, as I hope that didn't come across too loud as I put my desk. Episode 1, Determination. I'm so excited. There I was, in that black, shadowy darkness. I was normal, because I was able to distinguish that darkness as either black or shadowy. The sound of the clock, footsteps, the bottom of the stairs. I understood all of that. Even the word, Mama. I knew it all. So, I must have been normal. But I was uneasy. Something was missing, a part of my memory. It didn't feel right. So I screamed. A sound like something cutting through metal. My throat was dry. It felt like I was going to tear it, I felt like I was going to tear it to shreds. But I didn't care. I kept screaming. Mama, 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 Mama. Please, could you... Myth Prologue. This does go between is it NVL and AVL. I think of the terms, it's NVL and shit, I don't remember. As soon as I actually try to think of the terms, they're just gone. I knew them beforehand too. Light filled my gloomy room as I opened the window. Can't see. Being something of a night owl made me averse to the light. I couldn't help but grumble about my body's natural physiological reaction. How many times had I covered my face with the hand just to shield myself from the dazzling light just after waking up? I didn't know. Just adjusted my mic slightly. That should be fine. The surroundings became clearer as my eyes adjusted to the light. I had hoped that something about the scenery I had grown so accustomed to would be different this time around. But I was wrong. Today would be the same as always. Everything would remain in the same color, and that dull color would continue to blot out my days. Oh, as a slight warning, I forgot to mention at the beginning, when I was first setting this up yesterday to make sure that, the game could be captured and recorded, I probably should have done that sooner than, the day before recording, but whatever. It crashed as soon as OBS detected the game. It hasn't crashed since then in the little bit of testing I've done. So here's hoping for the best, but just as a caution, this might not be the most consistent thing with OBS because it crashed, OBS picked up the game window and then immediately crashed. Anyway. I heaved another sigh before putting on my shirt. After that, I put some bread in the toaster before changing my pants and shoving my textbooks and notebook into the bag. Let's see, character chart, high text box. I think I can do that from my spacebar. Yep. Let's look at the menu. There's some stuff here. We can just ignore that. Although I do think that that's interesting. This little thing, you can't see my mouse cursor, whatever. This stuff over here, I think it's interesting, but we don't need it. We have scene recollection. Check. Nope. Character chart. Oh, well, we'll ignore that for now. I required nothing else. I was going out for only one reason. Yeah, I'm the sort of person that as soon as I get a game, of any kind, visual novel or not, I fuck around in the menus, and then I fuck around with controls as I'm starting up the game and trying to see how I can do things and how stuff works before the tutorial tells me. Just trying to get a feel for everything. And again, like I said, I go through menus like crazy. Because sometimes you'll find random bits of lore or information or things will make sense or whatever. My toast was ready soon enough. I quickly consumed it, grabbed my bag, and opened the front door. Numerous familiar existences appeared and swiftly faded. It had become my routine to look at them with an almost robotic gaze. For example, take the middle-aged man before me. We would always pass by each other at the same time. That held true for today too, of course. Anything and everything was punctual. My days repeated. that wasn't an exaggeration. I'd head to school and take notes on subject I wasn't even interested in. It was an endless repetition. I was struck with an urge to look up at the sky. The fluctuating weather and subsequent changes in the sky were my sole release from such repetition. What if I could change my actions as easily as did the sky? I couldn't completely ignore such temptations, but that wasn't permitted here. After all, that's what people deemed as right in this world. It was the truth. Sound logic was what prevailed here. If this nation advocated rational justice, then its people were obligated to follow it, and thus the world could remain at peace. I wasn't even sure what I was thinking about. I said just not think and instead obey. That's what is right. That's what was best for me. I took a deep breath as I continued onward to school. A glimmer of hope led to me looking down at my feet. There was nothing there, not even what was supposed to be there. A shadow. That's what people long ago used to call it, but now we no longer possess such things. To quote my teacher, shadows were offered to God as a means of constructing this correct world. This is a very interesting thing and doesn't entirely make sense because, like, what is between things? Like, what is darkness? What is the absence of light? Like, how does light work in this world? And so on and so forth. Yeah, anyway, I think I'm just thinking too much into it. Whether that was hyperbole or not, well, I didn't know. The truth, though, was evident at my feet. So what's under your feet whenever you're standing? Like, your feet are on the ground, you're standing up. What's under your feet? Is there light between your feet and the ground? Are you emitting light? Are you radioactive? Is the world emitting light? Are everything under you emitting light? I don't know. I'm thinking too hard about this. Perhaps my shadow knew about those hazy doubts I held inside of me. I couldn't help but think that, even if there was no reason behind it, it was simple romanticism, lacking in any real basis. The sides of my pants flapped in the wind, and I couldn't visualize anything else. I looked up in an attempt to escape from all of that. I had to move forward. I shouldn't have been thinking at all. That's what such noble things as cause and probability dictated. That was for our own convenience, our own happiness, our own completion. A familiar scene awaited me. Small, concrete school building. People went inside without even bothering to look up at the blue sky. The window in the classroom, silence in the back. Those things were a necessity for me. They were natural. I entered my classroom and prepared for class. The course humans should follow in accordance with the thought derived from Nietzsche's philosophy and Maslow's ideas. I think it is Nietzsche. I don't remember. I've not read much philosophy really. I read mostly when I'm reading nonfiction, which is like 50-50 at the moment anyway. I read historical fiction, historical nonfiction rather, military nonfiction, some economics books. I've read a little bit of philosophy, but really not much. I mean, hell, I've not even looked into Freud or anything like that. Most of the philosophy that I've read is, I'm trying to think of what it's called. I've read parts of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which I quite enjoyed what I've read of it. And I've read a couple of other, God, I cannot remember what, because it's been a long time. But mostly with nonfiction, I'm reading historical stuff, because I'm a giant history nerd. Anyway, the distinction between superhumans and the herd Nietzsche spoke of makes in thus spoke Zarathustra. Yeah. The textbook answers this is such. When classified objectively, the herd Nietzsche spoke of can be said to be extremely lacking in value as humans. This is because modern society values individuality. To be individualistic as possible should be one's greatest goal in life. Maslow's hierarchy of needs gives further credence to this proposition. The hierarchy is categorized by philosophical needs or psychophysiological needs: safety, love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. At the top of this hierarchy, defined as the zenith of human desire, is self-actualization. One can't reach this point without fulfilling the needs below it. This, of course, is analogous. Oh, the psychology stuff is making my brain ooze, which isn't good because I can read stuff like this normally. Is analogous to Nietzsche's own ideas. Analogous. Bleh. Humanity has succeeded in defeating any and all physiological needs found at the bottom of the hierarchy. Thus, that is all. I am awful today. I think I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be reading this again. That is the ideal all humanity has desired, and can be said of the greatest achievement of mankind. I closed my textbook and heaved a heavier sigh than usual, but no one reacted, and we're gonna. Was I the only one who thought this was mere sophistry? There was no doubt that we had little desire for such physiological needs. I think, if memory serves, and what this is kind of trying to say is, this is a society similar to that of Star Trek, which I don't really watch Star Trek. I don't particularly like Star Trek, as a matter of fact. Shock, I know. Yeah, a person that plays D&D and is a huge tabletop game fan doesn't give a shit about Star Trek. Yeah. But anyway, I think this is supposed to be a sort of a post-scarcity economy, or society, rather. I could be wrong in that, at least somewhat, but I think that's the basic idea of the way that it's describing things in Star Trek. Anyway, enough with the Star Trek comparisons. It will probably never happen again, because that is one of the very few things I know about Star Trek. To buy clothes you like, to eat food you enjoy, to fall in love with someone, and to have sex with them. Rationally thinking, those desires don't seem particularly great. But was there precedence to our desires? Were the desires at the bottom of the hierarchy, particularly physiological needs, really something to be classified as wrong? Ding dong. The bell rang before I had reached a conclusion. The sound of people taking their notebooks out from their desk could be immediately heard. I was no exception, because that notebook carried my future. And we can access it now. Oh dear. Introduction to Psychology. The course humans should follow in accordance with thought derived from Nietzsche's... Oh, this is actually the thing. That's disappointing. Class ended and my fellow students began to return home. No one stopped anywhere along the way. Why would they? That wasn't right. There was no meaning in doing something so pointless. Yeah, probably not worth doing. I continued home, as always. We will do what is right, of course. Right, I was supposed to use that as an excuse to drink my drink. That is decidedly meh. I have mead for reasons store-bought. I didn't make this one. I want to make more mead. I really do, but I'm kind of lazy. And mostly I'm just... I don't 100% have the space to do it at this exact moment, and I have to go and pick up things, and I have to basically buy everything, and I have to spend like $100. No, that's not true. Tell a lie, like $120 to get a decent amount of equipment that I need, and the honey. And because if I make mead, I'm gonna make like 5 or 6 gallons of the shit, because I like dry mead. This is sweet. I don't particularly like sweet mead, but it's not bad. I could get used to it. I don't like sweet wines, but yeah, I have mead to celebrate the start of this, so that's a thing. I think ale might work a little bit better, but I think mead is actually no. I think mead. No, ale probably is slightly more appropriate, but mead is also anyway. Morning. I woke up when I was supposed to, then proceeded to get dressed and head to school, like I was supposed to. Once again, I passed by the hunched-over middle-aged man. Once again, I looked up at the sky. Just doing so felt necessary to me. Was it pointless to think that way? Or was I better off finding and subsequently following my own path? That's because, well, we're gonna do what is right, and we're gonna go to school. There was no reason to go elsewhere. I told myself that as I headed for school. My days at school, that unchanging daily life, agonizing over what I wanted to become. I grew older as I repeated those things, eventually taking a job as a small real estate agent. That wasn't what I wanted to do. It was the natural outcome of the choices I'd unknowingly made during the repetition of my daily life. It all just turned out that way. I wasn't dissatisfied with my life at the company. My superiors and colleagues were all good people. I had nothing to complain about. I knew that, looking at things outside of the framework at least. I knew that in itself was a necessity dictated by our world, one that bad people shouldn't be allowed in. I carried out my work. As the days passed by, I grew even more capable of acting out my fulfilled life. It hurt at times to see my colleagues do their work with such pride. Nothing changed, no matter how much time passed. I always saw the same scenery. It had become a part of me. It had always been the same, even when I was a student. Always. It's just, there were two things that were different for me. I'd sometimes hear someone calling for me with a sorrowful tone, and I'd dream of a girl crying alone in a meadow. I couldn't figure out what either of those things meant. It set my mind astir. There was something I realized as I grew older. It was what I wanted to become. It was so simple, yet I failed to realize it back then. I was glad that I realized it when I was still alive. Because what I wanted to become was something, never mind. I don't remember the lyrics to Octavarium well enough to quote it. What I was wanted was to become someone just like him. Something like that, I think. Was nothing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Myth. And as you can see, it was very obviously see why it is one of my favorite visual novels of all time. It is like the way that it tells its story is very punchy, very to the point. It's like it doesn't dwell too much on certain things. It's has a sense and a flair for the dramatic at the right times, at the exact moments, and everything. I can't keep a straight face. Yeah, I'm too excited to even try to pretend that this is the end. I'm so excited to be reading this. I have to gush about it even more. When I finished this again, not that long ago, only a couple of months, I thought I want to do this later this year at the earliest, like end of the year, beginning of next sort of thing. But I could not get this out of my head. When I finished stuff, I was thinking, well, what do I want to record next for sure? When I was planning out, or when I was getting close to the end, not when I finished, I know what I'm going to record before I finish the previous series. I couldn't. I would think of stuff and it's like, but I also kind of really want to play through Myth. Myth would be fun to record. You want to do it, and I cannot stop thinking about it. I think about it probably not daily, but a couple times a week, and think about that was a really good visual novel. I really liked that. That was a really fun, really interesting story. Oh, you should play Myth next. You should do Myth next. And I basically just decided, fuck it, I'll play Myth. So here we are, Myth. Man, so excited. Well, I hope you will join me in my excitement next time.